2, Part 6 of Red Seal welding questions. Move my little mouse here. There we go. All right. What is the first step when changing an empty spool of wire? Turn off the machine. If wire is feeding erratically, what is the likely problem? Dirty liner. Oh, that dirty liner. What is the correct width of weave bead? 2-3 times bare electrode diameter. True or false? GTA welding is the cleanest of all the manual welding processes. That's true. Gas metal arc welding and flux cord arc welding are very different welding processes, but they use very similar welding equipment. True or false? True. True or false? Hammer welding preceded resistance welding. So hammer welding came first and then resistance welding. True or false? True. In some instances, pressure alone may be significant to force separate pieces of material to combine and form one piece. True or false? In some instances, pressure alone may be significant to force separate pieces of material to combine and form one piece. True. Pressure and heat are both necessary to create a weld. True or false? False. Blank are usually either hydraulic or flywheel operated. Power punches. Blank is a gas that is produced by ultraviolet radiation in the air in the vicinity of welding operations. Ozone. The Industrial Revolution from 1750 to 1850 introduced a method of joining pieces of iron together known as force welding. True or false? That's false. So think about why that's false. The Industrial Revolution from 1750 to 1850 introduced a method of joining pieces of iron together known as forced welding. It is false. If a nut or bolt is too tight to loosen with a wrench, blank. Use a longer wrench. If it's too tight, a longer wrench will give you more power and force. To test a grinding stone for cracks, blank. Tap the stone in 4 places and listen for a ring. The symptom of acute exposure to high concentrations of cadmium fumes is... I'm saying that word wrong. Connections of cadmium fumes is... lung irritation. The symptom of exposure, or what happens to the if you are exposure to zinc oxide fumes, you get something similar to influenza symptoms, like you have a cold or a flu. A blank is a symbol for a Type C fire extinguisher. What color? Type C is a blue circle. Blank fire extinguishers are used for combustible materials such as zinc and magnesium. D. Blank fire extinguishers are used for electrical fires. C. Stored oxygen and fuel gas cylinders blank. It's asking you how many feet apart they have to be. Stored oxygen and fuel gas cylinders must be how many feet apart? Must be separated by 20 feet. Blank is formed when ultraviolet radiation decomposes chlorinated hydrocarbon. Phosgene? I may be saying that wrong. Any system of ventilation should draw the fumes or smoke away before it rises past the level of the welder's, what part of your body? Face. The symptoms of lead poisoning include metallic taste, loss of appetite, nausea, abdominal cramps, and insomnia. Respirators are air purifying respirators. Blank respirators are air purifying respirators that use blower to force the ambient air through air purifying elements to inlet covering. These are powered air purifiers. The welding area should be ventilated, and forced ventilation is best, but natural ventilation is sometimes required. True or false? False. When using extension cords on portable power tools, the size of the connectors must be small enough to enable a drop in voltage. True or false? When using extension cords on portable power tools, the size of the connectors must be small enough to enable a drop in voltage. That is false. Have a high risk of infection because of dead tissue. What kind of injury have a high risk of infection because of dead tissue? Burns. Scrap metal and electrode stubs are difficult and costly to recycle. True or false? False. Any cold liquid you drink can be poured on a first or second degree burn. True. Welding and cutting lead-bearing alloys or metals whose surfaces have been painted with lead-based paint can generate lead oxide fumes. True or false? True. Same, true or false. Damage to your hearing caused by high sound levels is permanent and may not be detected until later in life. True. That's why Aunt Mandy can't hear. Or at least if I don't wear my hearing aids. Alright. Too much visible light can cause temporary night blindness. True. That's why when you walk into the house after you've been outside, you can't see anything for a little bit. Both earmuffs and earplugs protect the outer ear from burns. True or false? False. Earplugs, you can still get burns. Stops for the sound, but not from burns. Burns can be caused by ultraviolet light rays. True or false? True. What is the air pressure for CAC-A? 80 to 100 psi. What is an example of dual shielding FCAW wire? Oh, sorry. I'm supposed to read it the other way, I think. E7 1T-9MJ-H4 is an example of dual shielding FCAW wire. E7 1T-9MJ-H4. What are the three types of wires for SAW? Low, medium, high manganese content. What are the three types of fluxes for SAW? Active, alloy, or neutral. Which of the following gases is the least dense? Helium. That's why it rises. The longer the blank, the greater the blank to the welding current. The longer the blank, the greater the blank to the welding current. The longer the electrode extension, the greater the resistance to the welding current. Adding oxygen or carbon dioxide to inert gas causes a shielding gas to become, which may cause blank in some ferrous metals. I'm going to read that one again. Adding oxygen or carbon dioxide to an inert gas causes the shielding gas to become blank, which may cause blank in some ferrous metals. So oxidizing and porosity. True or false? The temperature of a welding arc does not exceed 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit. False. So, soldering fluxes are chemical compounds such as myrtenic acid. True or false? Soldering fluxes are chemical compounds such as myrtenic acid. And I'm probably saying that word wrong. That's true. The blank flame has very high temperature near the inner cone, but has a little heat in the outer flame, resulting in localizing overheating. Oxyacetylene. Machines are adjusted by turning a hand wheel that moves the internal parts closer together or further apart. What are they called? Blank machines are adjusted by turning a hand wheel that moves the internal parts closer together or further apart. Movable coil. To treat a third-degree burn, apply ointments or antibiotic cream. True or false? False. You don't want to seal that in. If I wanted to shave off a rivet while agging, what shape of electrode should I use? Rectangular or square? This distributes the load over a large area of the shell. A wear plate. Electrode inclination on root pass. Should be a 0 to 10 degree forehand or backhand. Electrode inclination on root pass should be a 0 to 10 degree backhand. This is the end closure. Some are flat and conical in shape. And it says it has vessels beside that. This is the head. What is the theoretical electrode angle when using SWAW? Half the included joint angle. For any groove weld, what is the purpose of the first pass? To penetrate into the root and melt out any slag or undercut. Blank is a kind of circle, has a common center. Concentric. What is most likely to happen if you use too much manipulative movement when doing a root bead with 60-10? Incomplete penetration. When using 4310-6010 process at speed which you can maintain a fluid puddle and continuous keyhole. Well, keyhole we used to do in writing. That was fun. How long should tacks be on groove welds? 1/4 to 3/8. When oxy-fuel cutting, what indication is used? 0 to 10 degree forehand. This kind of circle has different centers. Eccentric circles. What is the plate thickness of CWB FVOH? 3/8. What type of welder has good energy savings? An inverter. What's the temperature range within the PAC stream? It's between 18,000 and 50,000. How much open circuit voltage is present when PAC? 120 to 400 volts. How many different kinds of tips are there for OFW and brazing? How many different kinds of tips? Two. What's the cause of narrow, high bend while SW... I'll say that again. What's the cause of narrow, high bead while SMAW? Too short arc length. You should not use chain when the amount of wear equals blank % for chains less than 1 inch. 5%. You should not use chain when the amount of wear equals 5% for chains less than 1 inch. How much angle can a shoulder bolt take? 45-degree max. With the addition of blank to argon gas, the transfer becomes progressively more blank. Helium and globular. So that would be the addition of helium to argon gas. The transfer becomes progressively more globular. Not like Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Vertical down weld should never be used on thin sheet metals. True or false? False. The blank machine allows the selection of different current settings by tapping into secondary coil at different turn value. Multiple coil. The multiple coil machine allows the selection of different current settings by tapping into the secondary coil at different turn value. Electrode wire has natural curve that is known as blank. Cast. What is an example of a self-shielding FCAW wire? E71T-11-H4 is an example of a self-shielding FCAW wire. I'll read that again. E71T-11-H4. What's the most common shielding gas for FCAW? C25. Sounds like bingo. C25. SMAW, open root angle is half the included joint. Notching effect may lead to complete failure. Grinding marks that run parallel to the weld, longitudinal, create a strong notching effect that may lead to complete failure. That doesn't make any sense. Grinding marks that run parallel to the weld, longitudinal, create a strong notching effect that may lead to complete failure. Okay. Most serious of all weld defects, because they often lead to complete failure of the weld, are cracks. Definition. Nope. GMAW troubleshooting. So we're just going to say this one. Process, electrical, and mechanical. So you troubleshoot for process, electrical, and mechanical. Okay, compounds. What way is weld grinding? Okay, coupons. What way is weld grinding? Traverse. Plate thickness on 2F/2G test. How thick is it in inches? 5/16. 5/16. Excessive penetration is localized area and is generally associated with the root bead or hot pass of a single welding multi-pass groove. What's this called? Excessive penetration in the localized area and is generally associated with the root bead or hot pass of a single weld multi-pass groove. Burn through. This symbol indicates the desired weld type. Weld symbol. Major cause is carrying a large bead with slow speed travel. Cold lap in GMAW. Failure to melt into a surface or root edges of joint is from lack of fusion. Lengths of unmelted electrode wire that are welded into a weld joint and protrude through the backside of the root weld, GMAW. Whiskers, like I'm a cat. Stainless steel to withstand harsh environments. I read that the wrong way. Nameplates are made of what? Stainless steel withstand harsh environments. That's why they use stainless steel. Definition. The purpose of this is to allow early detection of any leak that may develop between the vessel and wear plate. A wee pole. Puddle absorbs the force and the heat of an arc that does not transfer it to the base of the metal. Pillowing effect. This is a critical component of a quality control system. This is the mill test report. Well, that doesn't tell you what that's a silly question. These are located below pipe supports to prevent it from swaying. Pipe guides. For any fill and cap pass, use what kind of arc length? Short. Just like me, nice and short. Intermittent welds are also called, aka, they're called stitch welding. Just like you're sewing. COSTD means company standard. Oh, well, I thought it might be something bad, like you got itchy or something, because you have an STD. But it's not. COSTD means company standard. This line extends from either end of the reference line at any other angle than horizontal. Arrow line. This symbol is only used when additional information is necessary for proper weld completion. Supplementary weld symbol. Fillet weld length is shown on what side of the weld symbol? Right or the left? Fillet weld length is shown on what side of the weld symbol? The right. Welding symbols are developed by who? AWS, American Welding Society. Keep going, you're doing great. When using a E4918 electrode and the arc is seen to be pulsing, what is the likely cause? Wrong polarity. What does GTSM stand for? GTSM. Ground to sound metal. The size of a weld is located on which side of the symbol, the right or the left? The size of the weld is located on which side of the symbol? Left. What is the gap between CWB 47.1 test plate? Half an inch. Heat setting is the amperage is known as heat setting. True or false? Amperage is also known as heat setting. True. When GMAW welding, how is gas control regulated? With a flow meter. What do the letters GS mean in ER70S-GS electrode? What does GS mean? Intended for single pass only. What does the letter C stand for in ER70C-X electrode? Composite filler metal. Weld at narrowest gap and towards the widest gap if the gaps are even or uneven. Uneven. What is the root gap between test plates for CWB2FG? 8 millimeters or 5/16? 8 millimeters is the same as 5/16. Single V groove penetrations on pipe generally have included angle within range of 60 to 75 degrees. A surfacing weld symbol is always drawing on what side of the reference line? A surface weld symbol is always drawn on what side of the reference line? It says arrow line. Arrow line. Okay. The width of the cut is called the kerf. Kerf. Gaps on a pipe are uneven. Start your weld where? At the narrowest gap and weld towards the widest gap. On GMAW, what electrode angle would you use during single pass 1F welds? 45 degree to joint angle. Apparently a crow has joined us. He wants to learn about welding as well. This is the most common support for horizontal vessels. A saddle. Also very comfortable to sit in when you're riding. The area is where there is a transition from the head to the shell. This is also the weakest point of the vessel. It's called the knuckle. A weld that is high and has little to no fusion is too cold. To correct this, stop welding and make the needed adjustments. The method of heating, the blank method of heating uses a high-frequency electrical current to establish a corresponding current on the surface of the part. Induction. Fluxes that are active at room temperature Fluxes that are active at room temperature must be neutralized after completing the job. They must remove oxides that form from heating parts, in which fluxes, brazing, to which of the following is the function of fluxes used in brazing and soldering? Sorry, I read that backwards. Say it again. Which of the following is a function of fluxes used in brazing and soldering? They must remove oxides that are from heating parts. Mixtures of argon with less than blank percent of carbon dioxide may not have enough arc voltage to give desired results. 10. Mixtures of argon with less than 10% carbon dioxide may not have enough arc voltage to give you your desired results. Oh, here's a 2-blanker. At any 1 voltage setting, blank ampage is required to melt the wire the blank it is fed. So the words more and faster. At any 1 voltage setting, more ampage is required to melt the wire the faster it is fed. Straighten about 12 inches of the end of a wire and cut off any kinks is how to make a threading electrode wire easier. True or false? That's true. The heat produced by grinding GMA welding is significant to force 100% penetration, consistently making it ideal for industrial applications. True or false? False. Welding symbols must consist of 2 things: a reference line and an arrow line. What does TYP stand for? Typical. What does reference line means? This is the line from the base of the welding symbol and is always drawn horizontally. Oh, we're almost there for this section. Keep going. Alright, oh, I gotta flip them over. PAC uses what mode of process operation? Transferred arc. What polarity is mostly used for ACAG? DCEP. Sound like I'm on Sesame Street. Today's letter is brought to you by... What component changes AC to DC? A rectifier. How do you store files? in cardboard. I think we also have read that you can store them if they're separated by plastic and don't touch each other. How do you store files? And this one says in cardboard. Remember, the idea is that they don't touch each other. And you don't want to use something that they're going to scrape against. What material has a grain structure that appears very close and silvery? White cast iron. I didn't know such a thing existed. What's the advantage for inverter-type power sources for PAC? They are small and lightweight. What does WOL stand for? Weld Onlet. I don't know what that is. Weld, O-L-E-T, OLET. What does WOL stand for? Weld OLET. What should your electrode stick count be in CACA? 4 to 6 inches. That's what they all say. What is a rosebud tip used for? Heating metal. The first step in putting out a fire in the hose is to close the oxygen cylinder valve. Makes sense. No oxygen means it'll die out. If your sling included angle exceeds blank degrees, you should use a sharper bar. 120 degrees. How far should a ladder extend past a roof ledge? 3 feet. How far should a ladder extend past a roof ledge? 3 feet. An assembled symbol that combines weld symbols into one is called a welding symbol. A measure of quality or amount of energy that involves the mass of a substance. Heat. In relation to GMAW, what is the electrode stick count for a 0.035 wire? 3/8 to 3/4. Why does it do it? That doesn't make any sense. Doesn't measure it the same. Center to center spacing of welds is called pitch. On 4-inch pipe or smaller, how many tacks are required? 3. What standard does CWB test fall under? W47.1. Hope that makes sense to you, because that one didn't make sense to me. Alright, we're almost there. Keep going, you're doing great. The measurement of where stops and starts are on CWB. The measurement of where stops and starts are on CWB. 1.5 inches. If the bottom edge of an OFC is irregular and rough, what is the likely cause? travel speed is too slow. Why is a smaller tip used rather than turning a torch down when cutting thin materials? To prevent burn back into the torch. What is the maximum noise for workers to be exposed to? So this is measured in decibels. It's 85 decibels, or 85 dB. That's very loud. Tying two ropes of equal diameter together creates a square reef knot. True or false? True. When must fall protection be employed? Heights greater than either 10 feet or 3 meters. So that's an important one. When must fall protection be employed? At heights greater than 10 feet or 3 meters. And a foot's about as big as your foot, so like, I'm about 6 feet high, so like 4 more feet taller than I am. When you hear a popping sound in oxy fuel, what is happening? Backfire. What is the critical point of acetylene? 21 degrees Celsius / 28 psi. It explodes. Boom. 21 degrees Celsius / 28 psi. What type of liner is used for FCAW? Stainless steel. What electrode can be used as a polarity check? E7010. What's more serious, flashback or backfire? Well, if Aunt Becky's doing it, backfire, because it'll be stinky. What's more serious, flashback or backfire? Flashback. So it's not an Aunt Becky. How far should open on a fuel gas cylinder? How far should open a fuel gas cylinder? 1.5 to 2 turns. In CAC-A, if you want a 3/8 groove, what, I don't know what the symbol is, a circle with a line through it, like a diagonal line, rod should you use? 1/4 or 1/4. Superheated gas, ionizing gas, is called plasma. CAC-A, what should your travel angle be? 30 degrees. Almost done this section. Keep going. In OFB of, is the filler drawn into the joint? In OFB of, is the filler drawn into the joint? Capillary action. Oh, I thought it was yes or no. I'm going to read that again. In OFB of, is the filler drawn into the joint? Capillary action. What is the most serious welding defect? Cracking. There are several types of SAW fluxes. Which one is reusable? Fused flux. What drawing works off of 30 degrees on both sides of the center line? Isometric. Brazing takes place by using a filler metal that becomes liquid at what temperature? 450 degrees. How is the length of a file found? Measuring from the tip to the heel. Which wire feeder setup is used with SWA AIM CC mode? Voltage sensing. Which shielding gas is used to purge a copper pipe for brazing? Nitrogen. On a 6-inch or bigger pipe, how many tacks are required? 4 or more. You gotta go top, bottom, right, left, right? So that's 4. Heat is a measure of how much it hurts when I touch it? No. Quantity or amount of energy. Intensity or how fast molecules are moving is what temperature measures. True or false? Intensity or how fast molecules are moving is what temperature measures. True or false? True. What does ESO stand for? Electrode stick out. Steel with a carbon range of 0.05 to 3% carbon is called low carbon steel. Single V groove preparations on pipe generally have included angle within the range of 60 to 75 degrees. Which shielding gas may require an inline heater at high flow rates? CO2. What type of drive roller is best suited for FCAW? Knurled. Which shielding medium is often used for carbon steel short circuit welding? CO2. What's the maximum distance whip for push-type drive systems? 4.5 meters or 15 feet. Voltage sensing wire feeder means CC aid mode required. True or false? True. MIG welding, MIG welding is almost always at what polarity? DCEP. The rhythm of moving the torch helps make the bead uniform. Only a couple more in this one. A vertical weld, the blank will constantly be solidifying, forming a new shelf to support the molten weld pool. The trailing edge. True or false? Oxygen need not be completely mixed with fuel gas before they leave the tip to create a flame. False. A small molten weld pools are blank, large ones to drip. Less likely. This is a 2 blanker. Some joints, such as lap joint, may never need 100% blank. However, they do need 100% blank. Penetration, fusion. So some joints, such as a lap joint, may never need 100% penetration. However, they need 100% fusion. Once a number of sparks in air increases just before a blank takes place. Often the number of sparks in the air increases just before a blank takes place. Burn through. True or false? Out of position welds are no more difficult than flat welds. False. Which of the following metals are easy to cut using oxy-fuel gas cutting? Low carbon steel. The flat T-joint is easier to make than a butt or lap joint. True or false? False. A machine cutting torch is sometimes referred to as a line burner. And that's the end of this section. Thank you so much. There's another section, so come back and listen to it later. Okay? You're doing great.